This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It's 11:07 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast. And this announcement, Elvis is in the building. Well, sort of. Mr. Levesque is with us, and
Good morning.
you've seen him on our worldwide television station, WPSL TV, for years. And
Whoa, my.
coming back for an encore performance of not one, but two seminars coming up on the 14th.
Mhm. Glutton for punishment, they say, but hey, I love it, Throw me into the arena, put me in coach. I'm ready to play. So
There you go. Unfortunately, I think I will be long gone. I'll be up in beautiful downtown metropolitan Niceville with the Indian River State College basketball team. So unfortunately, I will miss your presentation, but it's going to be a good one. And the folks at Harbor Place promised that you will have your fill of cookies.
oh well, okay. Well, that's all I ask. And I share with everybody that will join us there. They're not just for me, come and join me for a cup of coffee and some cookies and some valuable information for our senior wartime veterans and their spouses. So I don't know what the cost of the price of entry is, but if you don't come to that seminar and sit there and at one point and say, "Oh, I didn't know that," we'll refund 100% of your ticket to enter the seminar.
Yes, and the cost happens to be free. But
Well,
seriously,
yeah, exactly.
we've got to tell folks, please at least give Harbor Place the courtesy of calling in advance and letting them know that you're coming, because
please do.
yeah, there are going to be two seminars, and boy, this is kind of a throwback, 7 or 8 years when this was a regular occurrence for you.
Yes, it was. It was just booked on my schedule. It would pop up on a regular basis, and I'd know, okay, that's the day. Here it is. I'm heading to Harbor Place for the day. And as I say, we'd be doing it two seminars each time we did it, and then in between, I'd be meeting and answering questions with people. Because hey, where else am I going to go? So it's like, hey, I'm here. So the people that join us for the early group, they really get to answer some additional questions and have some meetings a little bit, and so it makes it a little more hands-on for some of the people there, especially if they're at the community or if they're coming to find out about the community and seeing what it has to offer for future planning, because you never know when that day is going to come that hey, this might be something you need to know about, as happened one time with a veteran and spouse that I did a presentation up in Vero Beach. And 5 years later, he called me and says, "Hey, Duane, you remember me from 5 years ago? I didn't need the program then, but we need the program now. Can you still help me?" So whether it's relevant information for you today, tomorrow, or the next day, it's good information to have if you're a wartime veteran, to know, hey, there is a program out there for you to help you with your senior care. And it's, as we call it, the granddaddy of them all. It's the one that pays you cash directly to you. So why not get involved?
Yep, there you go. Well, I think the big question that for folks out driving around and saying, my dad served during the war, and he's going to be, eventually going into care and at Harbor Place, and um, maybe I should go see Duane and find out about this. And I think uh, that's phenomenal. Or if you're out driving around and now all of a sudden you say 2024, the rules have changed a little bit, but you are also looking at Vietnam vets now. I mean, just looking at my age, and I had a lot of buddies in high school that, you know, that went to Vietnam. So yeah, I'm well aware of stuff like that.
Yep. And it is my era as well. These were my friends that went and did their service, and I know many of mine that did not come back, and the ones that did, and some of them that they just aren't the same. And so yeah, we are now getting into that age group as we are now getting on with our World War II veterans, because if you do the math in 45, if they were 18 years of age, and some of them were younger after December 7th, and they had adopted or changed and adjusted, there it is, their birth certificates in order to get in or a little early. They were that anxious, and it's but if you add it all up, they're in their 90s now, and so I've gotten the pleasure on my time here of helping the spouse of a World War I, and helping a very good part of my dad's generation here in World War II, getting into some of our Korean veterans were out there in the 1950s, and we're starting to see those. And which is reminding me, it was in 1954 when this program was put together by Congress for our senior wartime veterans. So kind of an anniversary here in 2024. But as I mentioned and you mentioned, I am starting to see some Vietnam veterans coming our way, and as a matter of fact, I'm working with one right now. Actually, he served between Korea and Vietnam and with the Navy. And then during the Vietnam era, he switched over and he was in the Army. He was stationed during the period where you had to be in Vietnam. We have now gotten the discharge papers to prove that. And now they're now moving I'm working with the brother and sister, and they're moving their brother from Texas over here to a community here on the Treasure Coast, which I will not disclose. That's supposed to be a surprise for them. But anyway, because they now know that he's going to be able to qualify when he gets over here, that he's going to be able to move in and start moving forward to make sure this benefit is in place to take care of him as he goes through his golden years now. So it's
Nice.
terrific to
That
be
is,
able to help the family.
yeah,
So
that is absolutely phenomenal.
yep.
And I think the thing that comes to mind is just the fact that, and we've talked about this dozens of times, um, the VA says almost nothing about this program. I mean,
Yep.
this is like the ultimate stealth program, even though it is their program.
Yeah. Yep. And it just absolutely amazes me. But then it does not, because again, I would be weary and leery of them actually doing it and then trying to transverse their own program with some of the people that, because you're not getting the people that know how the program works here. And I love the people at the local offices, and they all work hard. But 95% of the time, statistics show they're working on service-connected disability. That's the big one. That's what everybody is hearing about. And actually, I watched an ad here, and it was this morning, but it was the first time I've ever seen an ad where it mentioned va.gov to find out about it, but it was for service-connected disability program. So I said, wait a minute, I have not, because we've talked about that. How much do they spend? Well, apparently they've been listening to your show. And they maybe they were in one of my audiences and they heard me speak of it when I started asking this question as a trivia question, and now they're making me embarrassed because now so I don't know who paid for it, but they said, here's how you find out, go to va.gov. So, but anyway, aid and attendance is under the 5% that they don't do, and that's where we fit in. Less than 5% of the time they're doing aid and attendance. We do it 100% of the time. So, but anyway, didn't mean to shock you with that whole thing that they finally put out about an ad about something. So,
Well, no, I'll have to call the VA and hit them up for some advertising, man, if that's
yeah, hey, maybe you too can,
Oh my goodness.
but,
Well,
yeah,
it's you would think that this would be top of the mind awareness for them. And I remember, and this goes back
yeah,
a bunch of years, when I was talking to our congressman Brian Maston about the VA, and of course, obviously, he was in that system for quite some time, coming back from the war. But you just think it shouldn't be this difficult to get stuff done. I mean, it's just so hard to imagine.
yeah, yeah. No, and again, I've told you the story how it went from a 23-page application with a one-day look back on income and assets to a 45 to 50-page application and a three-year look back on income and assets and a convoluted, very fuzzy math system to go along with it. And it's like, and that was to make it easier, more accessible was their logic. And it's like, excuse me, you make it easier and more accessible, you put less barriers in front of them and make it easier. So it's the like they said for your tax return, the EZ form. Really? So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But okay. So for folks out driving around, they're sitting there going, okay, this guy really knows his stuff. There's no doubt about it. But I can do this myself.
Oh.
and,
Been there, done that. back when it was that aforementioned 23-page application, Yeah, no, I took them on as a novice, and that's what drove me into this when I went up against the VA after with my career as being a duly nationally designated RM, SRA, state certified real estate appraiser, and done everything from postage stamp lots to golf course communities, everything else in between. Testified in every court here on the Treasure Coast, as well as U.S. bankruptcy court. And I says, how tough can the VA be? so I took them on, and I filled out that 23-page application on behalf of my mom and dad. And basically, a long story short, they dragged me and my family and my dad through the system for over 2 years. Oh, sir, you got that wrong. Here's a new form, fill it out, send it in. Well, could you tell me what it is you're looking for so I make sure I get it to you? Well, sir, we can't do that. Fill it in, send it in. We'll let you know when you get it right. Wait a minute, can somebody, well, you can go to these people here and they may be able to guide you and they may be able to help you. And it was just a disaster, and they dragged it out and dragged it out. And I said, well, hey, if you want to go out and do it yourself, now that it's a 45 to 50-page application and there's more documentation, and back then you used to be able to round your numbers and they weren't looking back 3 years. And if you want to go in there now and try and navigate that system, good luck. I knowing what I know, I would not do it by myself ever again, especially with the system the way it is now. And if you can get some consultation and advice so you know what you're stepping into, because there's a lot of rumors and stories and, oh, I heard you can do this, and oh, we can do it that way. And even some of the people I'm working with, they try and tell me, here's how I want to do my application. Really? No. Here's how we do this, and here's what we're looking for. Why? Because that's what the VA is looking for. You may want to submit some other document, but this is the one the VA cares about. So, and we get you focused on that. So if you want to go out there and you want to try it yourself and submit papers and hope you get it right, because if you leave something blank, you put something on the wrong line, you leave something out that is relevant information, they will hang you up in the system. Good luck now. If you go in this, that's the one thing, no matter who you have do it, you want to have somebody that's going to do it right the first time. As I've spoken before, if you've heard the statement, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. It is never more important than when submitting an application to the VA for aid and attendance. You want to give them everything that they need in order to make their decision right up front. So that's what we do when we submit our applications. That's what we've been doing for 25 years. And here, when the VA changed the rules and regulations and they came up and they said, hey, wouldn't it be great if everybody submitted everything that we needed right from the very beginning? Hey, let's give that a name. We'll call it a fully developed claim. We've been doing it for 25 years. Now we got a name for it. Okay, we'll give you a fully developed claim. Because again, if you leave something out, you leave something blank, you're in the system. You're out of the express line, and good luck trying to catch up to them, because they'll send you a letter, but it'll take them a couple of weeks to put that letter together, and then it'll take a couple of weeks for that letter to reach you, and the clock is already ticking, and they give you a time frame in which you have to respond. And if you don't respond, they close the case. So
Oh, I
you
didn't know that. I never
yeah,
knew that.
yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's
I had one.
yeah.
I had one case again, because I've had a lot of cases, and I had a veteran and spouse that moved into a community, and I was working with the veteran and the son, and this veteran was of good sound mind, but we submitted the application, he started developing a little cognitive issues, let's say. And so, and back at that time, he was set of sound mind, as we saw. So we had all the VA correspondence going to him, and we get a copy of it. Okay, for the most part. But at our home office, it's always delayed because it shows up in bulk mail. So the client gets it first. Well, Dad was getting letters from the VA that they needed some final information just to tweak their case. They were ready to approve them and everything, but Dad misunderstood. He thought they were trying to draft him again, so he kept throwing the letters away. Well, they gave him 60 days to respond. The son found out on day 61 that the VA was waiting for a response. So immediately he got in touch with me. I got in touch with our people, and we immediately got in touch with the VA, and we started patching all of this together to make sure that it stayed together. And but it's a good thing we found out about it, because if we're depending on the clients to make sure we're informed on everything, because they will be receiving correspondence from the VA, and you have to let us know so we can respond accordingly, because the VA will give you a timeout. So
Just kind of like the baseball pitching clock now, right?
kind of, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So
I didn't realize that.
You get any correspondence from the VA, you immediately send it to me so I can get it up to the attorney so we can review it, and then we're going to help you put the papers together to respond, to make sure that this doesn't come off rails.
All
if
right,
you don't respond, and you don't respond quick enough.
yeah. So the 14th, you're at Harbor Place, and it's not for one, but two sessions. You got what? One at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, 1:30. Yep.
1:30, and
But if they want to show up early, that's okay. I'll entertain them. I until then, I've got things going on. So, but yeah, we'll start the presentation at 1:30, and it runs to 6:30. Oh, the second one starts at 6:30. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you'll keep them nailed to their chairs until midnight, right?
Exactly. I got to do something between shows. So, hey, it's like, hey, you know, You don't have to leave. You don't have to go anywhere. We got cookies.
There you go. Well, I think the big thing too is, and this is for like sons and daughters that might be listening to all of this too, is that you are available for one-on-ones after the sessions.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be there and answering as many questions as I can. The last time I did one here, we did it in the big grand room back there, and I stayed until everybody else left. In fact, the busboys and everybody else had come in. The housekeeping cleaned and did the carpet, and I'm still packing up my equipment to leave. So I'm there until everybody's done. So, but again, they have to remember it is a school night. So.
There you go. Well, I think the big thing is um, your organization, and it's like you say, this is what you do on a full time basis. I mean, this is what you deal with on a full time basis.
Yeah, yep. That's like I tell people, we are to the VA what your CPA or your accountant is to the IRS. We are the experts when it comes to this. We know it better than the VA. And trust me, I've had discussions with VA officers. And it's like, really? Okay. And again, our job is correcting the VA. So why wouldn't we know more about it than the VA does, So now, when you, I mean, one of the memories I have of Mary Schneider, our original founder and owner, when I used to see her at some of our big conferences, she had the big, thick VA rules and regulation book with her pretty much wherever she went, because she used to work for the VA. So between her and John Castelline and our other people, our top VA accredited attorneys, they're reading and can quote you the VA guidelines and saying, oh no, you're saying this and denying our client because, well, no, here's what the regulations say and here's how it does, but again, it's sometimes where we get a little hung up is with, again, there's 3 regional offices, as I understand, that handle these applications, and each and every one of them interpret the regulations slightly differently. So, Wisconsin looks at it a little different than Philadelphia, and vice versa. And so, but you got to know their language and their lingo, and that's exactly what we do. We know exactly what they're looking for, and that's why I go back and say, hey, clients tell me, say, hey, I want to include this and I want to show them this and I want to show them that. Great. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give them this, this, and this, and that's it, because that's all they need. That's what they're requesting. If you want to put on an extra show and add extra documents and give them reasons to question other things, you go right ahead. You do it on your own. You want to get approved and approved quickly, you do it this way. Why? Because we have the recipe, so.
There you go. Well, and tell us a little bit about, I know over the years you mentioned your teammate, John Castelline. Tell us a little bit about his background.
Well, a little bit of John's background. He started as a client, actually.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Wow. Okay.
All those years ago, he was an elder law attorney, and he came along, and it was for actually for his wife's mother and father, who were was a veteran, and they came to us, and we helped them apply and receive the aid and attendance benefit for his wife and mother and father-in-law. Then it came to the point where his parents needed it. He came to us again and worked with us, and we got his parents approved. And he, in the meantime, started and got to the point where he was now VA accredited himself because he wanted to join us. So as he did, he came in and he's been working with us ever since and pretty much running it. But he started as a client and was so impressed with what Mary and our team was already doing. He came and said, I want in. And he's been with us ever since and pretty much took over the helm as Mary retired. John took over because we needed that VA accredited at the top now that they changed the way we have to do business, which turned our whole company upside down. So we had to restructure and put John at the top. And that's why I work under the umbrella of John Castelline, our VA accredited attorney, to share our advice and knowledge with our peeps.
That's amazing. All these years, and I don't even know why I even asked the question, but I was thinking, wow, I wonder how he got into that. And he was a client. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What? Tell us the name of your company and how folks can get in touch with you.
Well, we're now known as Claim Support for Veterans, and our website is claimsupportforveterans.com. That's ClaimSupportForVeterans on the end.com. And if they want to call and ask a few questions to get some basic information, they can call me directly. My cell phone here on the Treasure Coast is 772-342-4677. As I say, that's my electric leash, my direct line. It is available 24/7. It is. I'm not. But if you call and you leave a voicemail, you will get a call back. Try that with the VA.
Well, there's now a recording on your phone, I hear. Don't bug me. Show up at Harbor Place on the 14th.
Well, I am having that remarketed. I had to run it through the upper office to make sure I didn't offend anybody. But hey, I can't help it. I step on toes wherever I go. It's part of the act. So
I love it. Well,
it's changed now. So
there you go. Well, and I think what you have stressed, and again, this goes back to your own personal experience on making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, is mandatory with the VA.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, and because as another way I put it is, once you have an original or a certified copy, now that's even that standard because of COVID is now down. You get us a good clean copy of it in a PDF format, we're going to be able to work with you. So anyway, but once you have the discharge papers to prove that we have a wartime veteran, whether it be the veteran or spouse, it basically now levels the playing field because it now comes down to, well, I would like to say it doesn't matter whether you were in there and you left after 91 days as a buck private or you retired 30 years later as a full bird colonel. It now comes down to income, medical expenses, and assets. And we have never seen two cases that have identical income, medical expenses, and assets. So you have to custom build each and every case to match the family's need and make it work within the VA guidelines to make sure that you're going to qualify for the full benefit amount. And then it makes it even more interesting because the VA goes to the next step and they're looking at income, medical expenses, and assets, and they break that down even further because there's countable income, non-countable income, countable medical, non-countable medical, countable assets, and non-countable assets out there in the real world. And if you don't have those organized properly, I don't care how many forms you fill out or how many discharge papers you send or how many other documents you send, you will not get the benefit. So you have to have all of the pieces together. And that's why I say our team brings it all together. Because again, I love the VA and they do everything they're capable of doing. But again, if you go to them, you have to understand that they cannot give you legal advice. They cannot give you financial advice. They cannot give you tax advice. They can't even tell you if it's filled out to the point where it's a 100% approvable application. Why? Because they're not attorneys, they're not accountants, they're not lawyers. They can't. We have a team of experts to help our clients with every phase of that to make sure that we are doing the right thing and doing no harm and making sure it's going to meet the VA guidelines. Because if you don't, you're in trouble.
In a way, what you're saying about the VA is really very similar to the responses I guess you would get with Social Security, that we cannot give you a firm answer because we're not that department or whatever. I mean, yeah.
Well, there's another great point because again, the person that you call, if you do call in, That person does not have that case. You're not going to talk to the person that has that case. And even if you tried that, it goes through 5 different departments. So it's going to go through 5 different hands and 5 different piles, whether you're on the top or the bottom of the pile. And that's why when you're working with us and you work with our system, we have staff right at the home office. Their job is to do one thing, and that's to call the VA and follow up. Where is it? Squeaky oil, there's a squeaky wheel there. You got to grease it. Okay. You make them pull it. Guess what? Now they have to report that somebody called in on that. Now it comes off the bottom of the pile. It's now on the top of the pile. But do you want to have your family members calling every week, every other week, or trying to follow up with the VA? Or do you want to have somebody's professional staff say, hey, don't worry about it. You're working with us. We got people. You sit back, relax, go take care of mom, go take care of dad. We'll take care of the VA. Just do what we tell you to do. Go enjoy your time. So
Interesting. Yeah. It was maybe 1 or 2 times ago where you actually mentioned dates of service for folks who would be available for this. You have them off. You're amazing. I mean, I don't know how you keep all this in your head.
Oh, I don't. I keep it in yours just for safekeeping. That way, if they come to me. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have it. I handed it off. So, but no, because good point, my friend. Good point, because that is very, very specific here because of the way they run the program, because again, their definition of a wartime veteran, let's start there, is that you had to have served in active military duty for 90 consecutive days or more, one day of which was during a wartime era, honorably discharged, and then over the age of 65. There's the baseline. Now, the wartime eras that you refer to, the ones that we have, as I mentioned earlier, I worked with the spouse of a World War I veteran. We're at the phasing out now, I hate to say, and I'm going to miss them dearly, our World War II veterans, and that was from December 7th, 1941 to December 31st, 1946. Our now current Korea veterans that we're seeing are June 27th from 1950 to January 31st, 1955. And then we come into the Vietnam era, and I'm going to do this here in sequence here. If you were 11-1 of 55 to 8-4 of 64, those are the extended dates for Vietnam that you would need to have been stationed in Vietnam, okay, from 55 to 64, August to 64. And then from August 5th of 64 to May 7th of 75, you could have been stationed anywhere in the world, much like with World War II and Korea. They're the only ones that they split it out. And we've discussed our thoughts and ideas on the dates and times that they split it out. So, and who was where and when.
Wow.
We're not there.
So, that is so technical. Now,
yeah, they know to the day,
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But you think about down the line, I mean, you realistically will be dealing with Afghanistan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's going to be coming. I mean, there's no doubt that.
Well, they have that, and on my little note here, it has the Persian Gulf War, and it says August 2nd, 1990 to undetermined.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still open. Did it end with, I don't know. So that's an unanswered question, my friend. And if you have any insight on that or know somebody who does, if you can let me know. So
undetermined.
That's what I have on my little sheet here. Undetermined. They haven't set an end date. I've been made aware of anyway.
Wow. We were up at up in Niceville last year, or maybe the year before. I think it was the year before actually. And um, and there's a huge Air Force base there, and they
Mhm.
do a lot of training of some foreign pilots and stuff. So I heard some like Eastern European accents. So I was asking him where they were from, and some were from Poland, some were from Slovakia, and some were from a tiny country I had not heard of, Ukraine. This is 2 years ago.
Oh,
And it's like and so I said, okay, guys, so how long are you going to be here in Florida? And and all six of them said, oh, we're flying out tonight. And I
uh-huh.
said, where are you going? And they said, we don't know. We just have orders to fly out. So it was like, okay.
Okay.
And so
Hmm.
it's like, wait a minute. This would have been very early on in the Ukrainian conflict.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like,
Uh,
oh my
mhm.
goodness. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes on. Um,
Yep.
but
Yep.
what I think, going back to, and I graduated from high school in '63, and we had some friends in our classes, and even a couple classes under us, where their older brothers were in like special forces technically before Vietnam started.
Hmm.
And it sounds like the dates that you covered might not cover what they were doing in Nam, because it
Yep.
was what, just a conflict at that point,
Yep.
not a
Yep.
war.
Yep. No, I had, here's one I got a call the other day that he was there during the Cuban Missile Crisis, but that's not
Ooh,
listed.
ooh. Well, was he?
That we,
Wow, was he Navy then?
yeah, yeah, and he was wondering, but it's like, no, that was not one of the dates that they include as a wartime veteran. It didn't, it was okay. It's, as you see, it's not one of the dates there, because I remember that growing up, duck and cover, getting under my desk
Oh
and
yeah.
everything.
Oh, you bet. Yeah,
Uh,
we had those civil defense
Siren
drills.
testing, and okay, we're going to war. What are we doing, Mom? Dad, what are we doing? Okay.
We went to a school, a little Catholic high school in Playa del Rey, right by the beach, and of course there were huge dunes there, and um, and it's a football team. We used to have to run the dunes and stuff, and there was always one that one of our teachers was saying, "Oh, by the way, you don't go close to that dune." Well, that dune was an Air Force like mini base, if you will, on the
Yeah.
beach.
Couple
And I'm thinking,
of little
all
mini
right,
guns waiting
like
for.
what's down in that dune that we should
Hmm.
know about? It was like,
Yep.
well, and you go up the coast. Um, One of the most famous rocks, I guess, in television commercials for cars is Point Magoo. Well, that some of those mountains on the other side of Pacific Coast Highway are not real mountains. They're like movie sets. And they will open up and there are real live rockets in there. So
Yeah.
they call it the Pacific Missile Range. And you
Oh,
just think about that and go, wow, it's hard to imagine, but yeah, it's there. It is there. But the fact that you guys do what you do and you've done it for so long, um, would, it would seem like it's almost automatic to you, but every case is totally different.
Yeah. And they all see it differently, and and I love the spirited ones that are, they remind me of me. Oh, I can do this. Yeah, but why would you? So,
Yeah. And
why
this,
put yourself through it? I'm going to be I'm going to be a taskmaster. I'm going to be your drill sergeant. I'm going to make sure you get what I need, so, but I will also be the brother you never knew you had and are glad you found out,
there you go. Yeah. Well, and
everybody wants to have the brother that, hey, this is the one, he knows how to do this. Call him, I wish I had one of those brothers when I was doing it, but they all turned to his and said, hey, Duane will do this. Don't worry, Dad. Duane will do it. Yeah. Okay.
well, Duane can do it, and that's a key. A Harbor Place, right off of US 1 in Jennings. It is a palace, folks. If you haven't been there, it is absolutely phenomenal and a great place for us older folks. I'm, I'm,
Keep that under your headset there, will you?
oh man. So, well, we got in at what time was it? 1 a.m. I guess after a 4-hour bus drive down from Gainesville after the game. So yeah, yeah, it's I feel like I'm ready for Harbor Place. There's no doubt
Well,
about
hey, I'll meet you there. Hey,
it. Hey, well, we'll set up a little office there in
yeah.
Harbor Place.
I'm going to be setting mine up. As Candy said, she's going to bring over her pool cue. I'm going to set up my office in the little billiard room over there. You can come and see me there,
Well, that's what. Okay, I forgot you had mentioned the billiards room. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe I can be encouraged to and inspired to get back into that little game again if somebody shows up with some competition. So
there you go. All right, 2 sessions. 14th. It's going to be at 1:30 and 6:30. And again, folks, when you come, feel free, bring your questions because that's why Duane's there.
yep, yep. And all I ask is you hold them to the end because I guarantee I'm going to answer them during the presentation. Because I'm going to give you a little secret here. The whole presentation is answering all the questions we've heard for 25 years. So we're going to answer them up front, which leaves the audience with only a few questions left. And I wait to see who's going to answer them first. It's like a little game show. Who's going to get the top answer, so. No, I enjoy the audience participation. I love it when they come there and they think they're going to stump the expert and enlighten them. Because again, it's and I don't blame them because it's the rumors and innuendos and stories that are out there of how this program works, and and what you can do and what you can't do. And there's many a story. Some of one that back before they changed the guidelines was. They used to say the asset limit was $80,000. Well, uh, if you were 65 years of age and in need of the program, $80,000 was probably about right. But as you aged, that number went and declined. So the older you were, the less money you could have, which doesn't make sense because the older you get, the more you need. So that's part of the one thing that they changed with the guidelines that made sense. But what didn't make sense is, from what I understand of the rumors and stories, that was a rumor and story that started out in the Tampa, Florida area and spread across the country. But there was never anything in writing that said $80,000 was the limit by the VA. Never, ever. And because I've seen the big book that I told you, Mary carried around. It was never in writing, ever, anywhere. But that story got out there. And I used to hear it all the time. Oh, I can have up to $80,000. Well, if you're 95 years old and you're trying to get this benefit, no, you're going to get denied under the old guidelines. Under the new guidelines, I can work with you, but under the old ones, no.
So you had touched on this before. Obviously, 2024, those receiving Social Security got what they call COLA benefits, the cost of living. It was the same with the VA.
Exactly. They went up the 3.2%. It goes exactly the same way. So, and I can give you the current applicable benefit amounts if you're a veteran only receiving the benefit. You would receive the full benefit amount is $2,300 tax-free money every month for the rest of your life. Once you comply, that's the equivalent of $27,609 a year of tax-free money. If you're a veteran and spouse, the benefit would be $2,727 per month tax-free to help pay for your cost and care for both you and your bride. If you're the surviving spouse of a wartime veteran, and let me throw the definition of that in there so we don't get the widows upset, but they're going to be upset because the definition of a surviving spouse is that you had to have been married to the veteran for at least 1 calendar year, married to him at the time of his passing, and not remarried since. So if you were married to a wartime veteran and you divorced him, you may be a widow, but you're not the surviving spouse. But if you
Oh, okay.
fall into the surviving spouse category, which again, we test the waters on that before we do anything, but that benefit amount has been increased now to $1,478 per month that they can receive to help offset their cost of living in that beautiful community at Harbor Place where they can come over here and watch us do battle on that pool tables from time to time. So
There you go. Well, the 14th is the big day, and you've got two sessions, 1:30 and 6:30. And folks, bring your questions because this is the answer man when it
Yep.
comes to VA.
Yep. Especially when it comes to this program. And if I don't know the answer, I know exactly who I can call. I can get them on a line very quickly because, and that's the thing when it is also nice, the accessibility that I have to a man that has that knowledge and an entire team set up to do it, because it does take an entire team. And that's again why I encourage if the family members that are out there on then in radio land that are listening and I would strongly advise them if you have a wartime veteran or the spouse of a wartime veteran, come on in and learn about this program. Because again, you're going to be the ones that are going to have to help them with it. Because again, this is not easy. You're going to have to get up to speed. And whether you do it at this seminar where you're going to be able to have me one-on-one, if you're calling me fresh up, all I'm going to do is everybody's going to have to go through the seminar. I'm sorry. And yeah, I can send you to the online one that John and our associate Greg McIntosh do it, and they cover it in about 30 minutes, but you're not going to get your questions answered. You're going to have to call me. Well, now you're going to get me one-on-one. You're going to be able to hit me with every question, and you can hit me with your best shot. And I think I can handle you because as I say, I was in that the big room at the back of Harbor Place over there, and I sat there and I stood there and walked around and I answered everybody's questions until every table was empty and they were all gone. Why? Because they came to have, their questions answered. So, and some of them you can't share with the audience, and you take them aside and say, here's how your situation works. So, as best I can
And
to
in a
help.
way, this goes back to your dad, taking care of
Yep.
the vets. Yep.
Yep. Keeping my promise to my dad that I would take care of his veterans. And, a promise I made to him before he passed away at 101 years young. And now here it is. Actually, today is March 5th. It's my youngest brother's birthday today, and I got to call him. But tomorrow is my mother's birthday. Now, how they explain my brother was born the day before my mother, I don't know. But tomorrow is my mother's birthday, and she's going to be 97 years young. So I got some longevity in me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be here that strong and healthy to help our veterans. So please come to Harbor Place, get me while I'm now young and sharp, and I can still help you. So
Boy, that's she's how old now?
97. She'll be 97
Wow.
tomorrow.
Boy, you got some good genes in that family. That's for
Oh yeah. Yep. I'm going to be around a while. So
well, and I think the important thing for all the folks in South Florida that are here, if you're listening internationally, well, punch your airline tickets and make sure you're here by the 14th.
yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
1:30 and 6:30 at Harbor Place, right?
Yep. Yeah. And if you can't get there again, go to claimsupportforveterans.com. If you want a little bit of the seminar, you can go to that. You go to the start page, you scroll down a little bit. There's a little video embedded in there featuring the aforementioned John Castelline and Greg McIntosh, the head of our advocacy department. And as I say, they do a very piffy one in 30 minutes and they hit all the highlights and very quick. But, you know, if you want the interaction, you want to know more, I'm the guy. I'm going to be answering it right there live. But everybody's going to have to know something. Because again, this seminar is geared to answering all the questions we know everybody has. So now once we sit down with them, now we can move on to their case because all these other ones have been answered, you know.
There you go. Hey, well, now what is your phone number so folks can?
Oh, 772-342-4677. Again, 772-342-4677. If you don't get me, leave a voicemail. You will get a call back sooner or later, usually within the same day, which shocks some people. It amazes me.
Wow.
It's like, you really called me back? I said, well, you went through all the trouble to leave me a voicemail. I thought it was the courteous thing to do. You know?
There you go. Well, hey, have a good one. Okay, have a good seminar.
You too, buddy. See you up there someday.